Okay, welcome with my number one uke, Waverly. Sorry, Matt Anderson. Today we are going to look at avoiding ways from getting stuffed and stuck in a single leg situation. This is a position that tends to happen a lot, maybe off of a wrestling exchange where I get to a leg and they start sprawling and stuffing me, maybe off of a half guard wrestle up, or maybe off somebody passing my guard, I try to wrestle up into a single to avoid getting points scored. So it's a pretty common position that we're going to find ourselves in. We'll look at some ways where we can avoid just getting stuffed altogether and build back height, but then as well some things when we can't build up height. We'll look at some peek outs, some cutbacks, or simply just re-guarding them back into half guard. So let's take a look at the position. Okay, so single leg position here. They sprawled on me. They usually have a wizard and they usually have a hand on my head. Now let's look at some of the goals that she wants versus the goals that I want. My goal is always to be off to an angle. Okay, the more in front of her I am, the better this position is for her to be in. So oftentimes a good counter from here is as she wizards and pushes the head is actually to start sawing her hip back down and squaring her hips to me. Go ahead. Yep, and now from here you see I start to get stretched out and I lose the leg, and now she starts getting behind me and it's a sticky situation. So first thing we'll look at is avoiding that extension of the hands. Okay, so there's a couple different grips that we can use. One with locked hands, which is where I put my eyeball socket into my own arm here and I shrug my shoulders for support. So when she tries to square up and go into that sprawl, the lock of my shoulder and arm keeps that. Now, even if she starts stuffing my head from this position here, it's really hard to do something when I get this here. Oftentimes when people keep this grip, their head goes through their arms, go ahead, stuff, and start to sprawl, and that's when we lose that grip from here. Okay? Now once we're able to keep that grip, our whole thing is to start creating that angle or get back to our feet. So I'll show that first. She goes ahead and sprawls, I put my eyeball in my socket, and I'm shrugging my shoulders. From here, if I feel like I can start building height and sucking a leg back in, and now I can look to either start running the pipe, upgrading to body locks, etc., etc. That's always ideal, is building back height. Now sometimes that's not always the case, so we're in that same stuff situation and I just feel like I can't build height. From here I'm looking to put a drive leg up, which is my outside leg, and I'm going to look to start knee sliding myself closer into this angle here. As I feel I get to this angle, it's an easy thing now to start putting my knee down to the floor behind her leg. So now when she tries to sprawl, it's really challenging. And from here, I start putting my shoulder right behind her so I can start turning the corner, exposing her ankle, and getting into backside single leg situations like so. Now as a quick reminder, whenever we're in a backside single and we climb the leg, we never want to go to a tight waist, okay, because now she can whizzer and flip me over. We see this position happen a lot where someone does a great job here and then they just get thrown over. So always looking to chase the secondary leg or upgrading to the knee tap and finishing backside here. Okay, so that's the first way we can deal with getting stuffed, is using this locked hands grip, eyeball in the socket and shoulder. Now another good grip that we can use is as they start to square and stuff, we switch to a false grip on the leg and we post our hand out for base. Now this one's good as well. I personally like the locked hands a little bit better. You might like this one a little bit better than I can, but the same principles apply. I'm either trying to stay vertical, so when she tries to sprawl, I'm looking to build height. Two, go ahead. I'm looking to start knee sliding and getting to that angle where my shoulder is directly behind the hamstring and elbow to the floor like so. Okay, so either false grip, veins of my wrist on the shin, so come back. Let's turn and face the camera. So when she tries to sprawl this leg away, go ahead. It's a challenging thing to do so. And again, building height. Okay, now another good option from both grips is to hit a cutback single. Okay, for this one, I feel like I'm having a hard time. I switch my drive leg, so I have my right leg up, and I'm actually going to switch down to my left, or my right leg down, and my left leg comes up. From here, I pivot on my knee as my head goes to the far hip pocket, and now I'm able to turn my partner around and start to put them on their hips here. Same thing off of this false grip here. as I build height, she's trying to stuff. So I put my inside leg up and I start to get my ear to the far hip and I pivot on this knee here, like so. And now I can start climbing the body and getting up in this position here, okay? Now, that's using a cutback method. Now, the next one is using peek outs, okay? So when do I use this? If I feel like I can't really get my head up or build height, I'm always looking to peek out. So whether I have locked hands or not, I feel she's starting to square up and she's more in front of me like so. From here, I put my outside leg up. I take my head from the inside to the outside as I knee slide out, keeping this hand on the inner thigh. Now it's a battle / race to get to the far hip. As long as I can get to this far hip when she goes to face me, I'll always win that battle of getting behind her. Let's look at that again from a slightly different angle. We were here on a single. I'm getting stuffed. As my head moves, I put my leg up, look up towards the ceiling as my elbow slides back, and I use this grip on the inner thigh. I don't know if you can see. Let's turn a little bit. And I use this grip on the inner thigh to close the space and get to the far waist. And now I can look to wrestle my opponent, like so. Okay, so that's using a peek out, okay? Another really solid option, I don't know if I mentioned it early on, is just simply to put them back in dogfight. So if I'm here and I know they're the better wrestler, I'm able to circle, I'm always looking to trap an ankle and get to the dogfight scenarios from here, okay? Also a really good option. And now finally, okay, depending on the rule set, the tournament, we are always able to pull them back in half guard. So I'm losing the battle, she's sprawling, she's squaring up. I put my drive leg up, I hit that same knee slide forward, and now I'm able to trap and start getting some half guard offense from here as well. Okay, so that's kind of my thought process. First, I'm looking to build height, okay? Second, when height's not available, okay, I'm looking for those peek outs or to circle towards the leg. And finally, if all else fails, I go to half guard. Now the last thing I'll leave you on is there's an interesting dynamic between being able to circle back to dogfight and getting to that peek out. The two play together. They can't defend both. So what I mean, is the more she allows me to walk closer to her, the easier this dogfight scenario becomes. The more she starts to get away from me and square up to defend, the easier the peek out becomes. And you can play those two interchangeably. Now, obviously, we're always worried about our neck, okay? We'll look at a different lesson some other day when they actually start to get guillotines and things like that. So, hope you guys enjoy this little single leg study. Don't get stuffed anymore. See you guys on the mat.